Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about YouTube. Let's get started. So there's no need to really introduce YouTube. You know what it is. Just a couple quick statistics though. There are 2 billion users on YouTube as of today, and roughly 1 billion hours of content are watched on YouTube every single day. So they're huge. They're a big player. And to add on to that, businesses have noticed, because 8 out of 10 businesses view YouTube as their primary means of advertisement. So, needless to say, the world's eyes are on YouTube. And with that in mind, I wanted to read a Bible verse to you. And this is coming from the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verses 15 through 17. And it says, "The rod and rebuke give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. When the wicked are multiplied," or another translation is when the wicked are in control, "transgression increases, but the righteous will see their fall. Correct your son, and he will give you rest. Yes, he will give delight to your soul." So there's a couple takeaways there. First thing I wanted to bring or mention is that when the wicked are in control, transgressions will multiply. They will grow. And YouTube, when you think about who is putting content on YouTube, they would fall underneath the category of wicked. Now, are they meaning ill? No. But they do not love God as we humans are supposed to do, and therefore it is wicked. And lastly, if you do not restrict or put restrictions on your child, and in this case with YouTube, then they will bring shame to the mother. I believe it says and of course you understand what they're saying there is that there will be bad things that come about of a child that is not monitored and not directed and guided through their childhood. So YouTube is contributed to by a lot of people who do not love God, but who do want the attention of your children, who want to guide them and shape them. Ultimately, I think it's a selfish thing where they want to sell them products and get things from your child. So with that in mind, let's jump into how can we deal with YouTube. I'm going to primarily be offering advice for younger kids, but then towards the latter end of this, briefly for the older kids. So let's jump over to my Chromebook and go to a website called YouTubeKids.com. Now, YouTube Kids is basically something put on by YouTube, and it is a way for kids to view content with less risk. Now, that risk that they're talking about is inappropriate content, adult content. And so now that is not the only thing you should be concerned about, but YouTube has provided this service. This is also offered, YouTube Kids is offered on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store for as an app on your device. It is also viewable through the web, as I'm doing right here. Now, I have this all set up, and when you first sign on, you're going to have to set it up. And it's fairly simple. You just follow the prompts. There's a few settings you might not understand, but that's okay. You can go with the defaults, I suppose. And we're going to try to get into some of those settings here in this video. So here I'm logged in, and I've also set up a kid, and I'm in the kid's account right now. Now I want to manage the account. So what I'm going to do is click on the little lock icon and do the math to get into the settings. Now, the settings, whether or not these should be accessible to a kid, it probably shouldn't be, because a kid could figure out the math. if they're clever. And so what you can do here is you can add a code to prevent only the person who knows the code from accessing these settings. But most of the settings that we want to manage are in the kids account, and we get to those settings by clicking that kid icon, in which case we then have to enter in our Google or Gmail password. Okay, so let's see if I got that right there. Okay, so here's the kids settings. And the first thing that we see is the age kind of slot, what content they is going to be available for this kid. So there's like infant, middle, and then 8 to 12. This is YouTube Kids, I should have mentioned, is tailored for kids below 13, but that's YouTube making up that. Anybody could watch it. You know, it's just videos, right? So so we have their age group. Now, next setting is search. What that is the ability to actually search YouTube Kids, and in a way like you would YouTube. The advantage to turning that off is that a kid can't search for certain things that they shouldn't be. They can't type in certain words and then go there. The disadvantage to that is that YouTube then puts together some sort of smorgasbord of items and says, here you go, kid. And so that's actually not that great either. So, use your discretion. That's what that setting is. It either removes the search bar or it provides the search bar. The last thing that I really would recommend turning off is the pause history setting. What that is, let me see. No, I'm sorry. You got to flip that on, and which stops the pause, the history. What that is YouTube will collect information, and regardless of whether this is turned on or not, they will collect information about what your kid's watching, building a profile. And then based off that profile, if this setting is off, they will then offer your kid different content. And what this effectively does, it hooks the kid into the site and keeps them watching for hours and hours, and so that's just not something that you want. And so to turn that off, you flip that toggle to the on position, which prevents them from handing the kid exactly what they want. Okay, so that is basically all of the settings for that you can manage. There's not a whole lot, so look through them and get a good understanding of what you're doing. I should have mentioned this earlier, but this is an option for those parents who want to give their kid access to YouTube or to videos, and whether that's for an hour or for an unlimited amount of time. But of course, as you probably already know, the other option is just don't give them access. If they have to see a video, or maybe you want to watch some for leisure, just sit down with your kid and watch them with them. It gives you a great opportunity not only to show them what's good to watch, but also how to navigate and step away from some of those things that really will hurt them. It also gives you an opportunity to talk about what they are watching and really discuss the content. Okay, so that was for the younger kids. Now let's take a look briefly about older kids. And I should say there are so many things that you can do, and I just won't be able to cover all of those. At the same time, I'm no expert, so this is what I've come up with so far. So in a default YouTube account, you can hit the icon, the user icon in the upper right-hand corner, and then go down to Settings, which is right behind me, right there. So Settings, and in here you can. There's lots of different options. We are going to briefly look at notifications. So notifications allow you to turn recommended videos off. This is basically that history that we've been talking about with the YouTube Kids. it prevents YouTube from just feeding and hooking your kids. Now, I'm sure they still do that to a certain extent, so use your discretion. But this is where that setting is in user profile, settings, notifications, and then recommend videos. So you can turn that off. Of course, anybody, the account holder, can change this, so it's not a really secure way of protecting your kids. The next thing I wanted to direct your attention to is connected apps. There are various apps which allow you to help guide your student. I'm not very familiar with this setting page, but I am a little bit more familiar with something else called DFTube. So let's take a look, and that's actually an extension for Google Chrome. So what we're going to do is we are going to Google DFTube. And what it'll bring us to is the first option being distraction-free YouTube. And so what this does is it helps to take away a lot of the distractions. For instance, some of the distractions could be the advertisements, and those advertisements are quite often not something that you want your kids looking at. So this is not something else that I will let you explore. I just wanted to direct your attention towards that DFTube. Like I've said before, this is not a comprehensive video, and there are so many things that you can do. Diving into this subject opens up a large subject that is quite time consuming. So, like I've said, if you can, just take it away. And I'll end with the reading of that verse one more time. This is Proverbs 29:15-16. The rod and rebuke give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings trouble to his mother. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increases, but the righteous will see their fall. Correct your son, and he will give you rest. Yes, he will give delight to your soul. Thanks for watching.